Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Everyone, welcome to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Always good to have you here joining us, and always good to have this guy right here, Eric Goranson from Around the House Northwest, joining us. If you watch this show regularly, you know every Thursday, generally speaking, he's going to be on here giving us some tips and tricks that are going to help out everybody and getting a preview of this week's episode of Around the House Northwest, and this time here in studio.
Yeah.
You never know.
Nice to be here.
You're always out and about filming a million segments a week, so it's good to have you here. But I know this one that we're talking about today, you know, it's been brought up a lot here recently. We've been seeing a lot of people talking about the earthquake, the big earthquake that could happen. Some will happen at some point. There was a huge drill that was actually over on the Oregon coast, I believe it was last week, associated with this. So it's got everybody kind of thinking about that and what to do about your house. Are you prepared for it? And are you ready?
And it's a big subject, right? There's a lot going on, you know. And one of the biggest things is if you think about it, if you've got a house built before 1980, there's a really low chance, unless somebody has remodeled it and done something to it, that house is not attached to the foundation, which means that it's just the weight of the house that's sitting down there. There might be a couple nails in it when they did it, but really there's nothing mechanically there. So when you watch on the news, maybe you'll see that perfectly good looking house out in the middle of a road from a hurricane or a tornado. Those weren't tied down.
So that's really just moving it straight off of the...
Right off the foundation.
Gosh.
So it's just the weight of it that's doing it. So the problem is if we get an earthquake, ground's moving one way, the house is moving the other, and the chance of it coming off the foundation, pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's an easy fix to that, and that's called an earthquake retrofit. So what they actually do is, it's a pretty extensive DIY project. It has been done, but you kind of have to be kind of medium to expert level to do this. But you have to get down into the crawl space or basement and tie all of those pieces together. So they make brackets that attach the sill plate, which is basically the first piece of wood, down to the concrete or the block or whatever. And they have brackets that tie that in. You put that every 2 or 3 feet around that. And then you have to use metal fasteners to kind of bracket all of that house substructure together.
Wow.
So if you've got a post in the basement, now you need to have steel holding that to the floor and steel holding the post to the framing members and that stuff. So that whole needs to be bolted together as a system.
Okay.
And that's really how you fix that. So that way, you know, your house has a much better chance of making it through the big one.
Gotcha. And so that sounds like a pretty extensive DIY project if you were to do that.
It is. And I always recommend if you've got a house other than just a single story kind of ranch house, you want to have either a professional come out or an engineer go through and draw up some plans and say, this is where I think they should be, so you know how to do that correctly.
Yeah.
So, and then there's some health risks too. You want to make sure, because you know the professionals go in there, you get silica dust from drilling into concrete. So if you grab the concrete drill and go down there as a DIY project, you don't want to get sick from that. That can be a serious health hazard. So they make tools now that have vacuum systems that HEPA filters and that kind of stuff. So you're not in a crawl space sucking in, you know, and getting silicosis off that. Bad for the health. So it's not a good idea. But if you can do that, you stand a lot better chance of having that house survive that, because if it pulls off, you're kind of the best option at that point in most cases. So we're going to have to knock the whole place down and build it back up again.
Yikes.
If you had the right insurance for that.
Yeah, that's right. And that's something I know you've brought up, that insurance side of things before too, because you could be in a lot of trouble if you don't have.
Do you have earthquake insurance? That's one that you could buy now.
Yeah.
You know, and it's important, and they'll look at it and go, okay, your house is new enough that it's tied down to the foundation. If it's not, then you can get some serious discounts by having that retrofit done and having a certificate or an engineer's stamp saying, hey, this is what we did.
Yeah.
So that'll reduce that price because they have less risk.
Right. And there's a lot of houses in this area that are pre-1980. I mean,
most.
Mine is for sure, but
Yeah, and in the 70s, they started to implement, you know, code as far as building code where you tie that down, but it was so hit and miss, you didn't really see it being seriously enforced until the 1980s.
So, all right, something to definitely pay attention to and look into that. What are some other things that people would do? I mean, other than that project, clearly very important. But
very important. Another one we actually did in last week's episode, and that was installing an automatic natural gas shutoff valve.
Yes.
So what happens is the house shakes, and it automatically will tip this little ball off a shelf inside this valve, and it automatically shuts off the natural gas to your home.
And that's something, can you install that yourself, or do you probably need the gas company involved?
You can have a plumber come out and do it, or we had earthquake tech come out and do mine.
Okay.
You know, so if you're pretty handy, technically you could, but natural gas is tough.
You don't mess around with that
for everybody. So.
Yeah. Yeah,
Unless you're super comfortable or you're a plumber, I would just kind of let that be the professionals. Anything natural gas, a little leak can be a problem. So you just kind of don't want to mess with that. So
yeah, no, definitely not.
that's why I had somebody do it.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to be that guy that causes the gas leak in the neighborhood
Yeah,
either.
so that's another one there. The next thing is I start to take it inside. Go, okay, those tall dressers and furniture pieces, you could go
Yeah.
to the hardware store, tie those off to the wall.
Really? So bracket them in.
Bracket them
Yeah.
in. They make, if you think about it, you go buy a piece of like an IKEA dresser, for instance. They come with a little kit so it doesn't knock over on kids.
Right.
Same concept.
Okay.
You're gonna all those hutches, tall stuff. You can go down and get those anti-tip brackets for furniture. That'll really keep that from ending and knocking over as well.
And that's really just screwing them in. I mean.
Yeah, it's gonna have usually they have a little flexible thing back there so you can kind of move it around a little bit.
Yeah.
But it'll keep it from knocking over. Because what happens is things shake, drawers come out, all the weight goes out, now it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
That can be a problem.
That could definitely be a problem. I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
That's another big one
right
there.
Yeah, I've got some pretty big bookshelves that
Yeah.
I need to bracket them in.
Yeah, screw them to the wall or attach them in that way so they're
Okay. So those are, great ideas or things to do.
Yeah.
What else should?
I start to think about survivability. Okay, you made it through the quake. Now, if you don't have water, if you don't have food, shelter, some of those basics, that's where that preparedness kit really comes in.
Yeah.
So you have water for a couple weeks or an ability to get water to have it clean,
Yeah.
but if you have a lake, maybe the lake drained because the little dam came out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So think about where that water's coming from. A lot of people go, oh, there's water right down the road. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. You just don't
maybe it's
know.
contaminated.
Maybe it's contaminated. Give a filter that'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So those are things you can do. And then I always recommend have at least 2 weeks food supply.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is pretty easy. It's not that big a deal. You don't have to go like load up the pantry, but maybe it's just going down to your
Get a bunch of
camping store and
cans.
getting cans or Mountain House or one of those freeze-dried foods that you see.
Yep.
Mountain House is just made right down here south of us, so it's
Yeah.
not that big a deal. But putting that stuff away, and the cool thing with some of those freeze-dried foods is you can get 20, 30 years out of those things.
Right.
And they still last. So
Yeah.
you're not worried about rotating through all those canned goods that,
Right.
oh, cool, I bought 2 cases of beans. Am I going to eat 2 cases of beans before I get done? Maybe not.
Yeah, probably not.
So you're not
before
throwing
they go
stuff
bad.
away.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
where freeze-dried is a good one.
Yeah, great idea on there. And I would imagine too having somebody to heat that up.
Yeah.
Would be good, having some propane or
Absolutely. That's what you need too. How are you going to boil that water?
Yeah.
So is it your barbecue? That could be a great option.
Yeah.
If you have enough gas for that. And, oh no, I have enough for one more barbecue. Always having that extra gas or, again, if your natural gas is off because the line's down the road broken or the power's out, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Have that supply there on hand. So all great things. Anything else that you think people should?
I think just having a communication with your family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what happens if this happens in the middle of the night? What happens if you're at work? We know that good chance that cell phone systems will be overdone, Wi-Fi will be down, all those little things. How are you going to communicate? Where's your meeting spots? All that kind of stuff. What happens in the middle of the workday? Do you guys know where you're going to meet?
Right.
Where's that place?
Yeah.
Because bridges get shut down pretty quickly.
That's true
because
too.
they got to shut them down because they need to inspect them. So I learned that one big, and I was up at the Nisqually quake. I was on the Tacoma Narrows Bridge during that 7.1 up there.
Oh wow.
And that
so,
thing moved.
So they just shut it.
They shut it right down afterwards.
Yeah.
So as soon as they could get somebody over there, they shut all those big bridges down so they could look at them to make sure they were okay.
So then you're stuck.
You're stuck on one
whatever
side of the bridge or the other.
Yeah.
So you got to think about that too. Okay, how many bodies of water am I crossing?
Right. To get back to where it is.
To get back home, what's your commute
the
look
meeting
like?
place or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That is a really good idea to plan that out. Just talk to someone and be like, okay, this is the meeting place, or if this bridge is out.
yeah.
No, it'll be a little while.
It'll be
It'll take me a minute. Yeah.
Okay, maybe plan 2 is a friend's house. That's closer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good
just
idea.
Figuring out those places what you're going to do, and those are good plans to have. And it's kind of like a lot of it's like planning for that fire. We do that fire prevention stuff. A lot of it's kind of that same stuff or wildfires. Just really planning to have that.
Yeah.
What happens when.
Just have it in the back of your mind. That way you know.
Yeah, and if you set those standards up, okay, this is what we're going to do. That's
Right. Right. All good plans. Okay. Anything else you think people should know?
Yeah, I think just to go back and touch on the insurance thing, check on that to make sure that you're going to be covered.
Okay.
Because sometimes even if you've got that house bolted down, you've done everything you can. If we still have a bad one, you can still have damage.
Yeah.
And if the whole area is going to be, damaged, it's going to take a while to get that fixed. We've talked about that before when we've had fires. You look how long a burned out house sits there before somebody gets even working on it. That's months on end.
Yeah.
So it's going to be worse when everybody has something to work on.
Right. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Having a big tarp, not a bad thing.
Right.
Having a really big tarp folded up in the back of the garage or closet or something like that, that can be shelter, that can be covering up, something broken on the house that happened.
Right.
If you had the garage start to pull away or a chimney pull away and you need to keep water from getting in the house, tarp can do a lot for you. And
Yeah.
pretty inexpensive.
Right. Yeah. Having a couple of those and they fold up really, really small.
Really
yeah.
small.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Brand new packages, they'll take up no space.
Yeah. All right. Great ideas.
Yeah. That's the little basics.
That's the basics.
what
Yeah. But all things that everybody can be thinking about and
Yeah.
kind of planning for. Should we talk about this week's episode?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Because I know that you've got.
Yeah, we got a fun one coming up here. So we're going to be talking about our first Perform Like a Pro segment that we start out the show with. We're going to be installing a metal fence and gate system. And we started to do some of this last year, but we did a fence this year. And totally fun with this metal gate too. I love the durability of it because it has been so durable. I had some of this that we did last year, and it was funny. So I had a branch fall out of one of my trees in our windstorms that we had. It took my wood fence right down to the ground. I had a bigger branch hit the metal, and it bounced off and broke the branch in 3 places. So
That's what I like.
I like that durability. It saved me a ton of time.
Yeah.
And then if you look on this video there's a cool little tool that I tried out here on the left over there. That is a mud mixer. So you basically take your concrete, put it in the top, it plugs in, and it automatically mixes up the concrete that you're going to put in the post holes. So in about 10 seconds, it's kicking mixed out concrete out the outside of
So
that.
you're not sitting there having to like stir
Oh
that.
man,
by
there's
hand.
nothing worse when you're doing a project having to sit there with a hoe or a shovel trying to mix up bags of premix. That is the easy way. And the little tip, you can rent those things at a lot of tool rental stores too.
Nice.
So if you're tackling that project, that's a tool that makes it quick.
Just a nice rental. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it really quick. But you can see this is steel. It's all finished. It's actually out of a company called Durabond out of Eugene, Oregon. It's made down in Australia, but it's super easy to put together. And it's a lot of fun, and it's fireproof too. And it bounces about 10 decibels off. So if you have road noise or things like that, it really kind of helps push that noise away as well. So there's a lot of cool benefits to that right there.
I mean, I would imagine with the strength of that too, do you need to have any kind of wind?
No, it'll hold anything.
It'll hold
that
anything.
Stuff is tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. You think about that cedar fence, how light duty that is compared to the steel. It'll take anything at it.
I'm kind of sold on this right now. So
yeah, there we go.
So there we go. So there's part of that segment here for this week. And I know you've got a lot of other things too.
We've got a great interview. We've got a bunch of different stuff going on. So we've got my friend Jeff from NB Sentinel coming on, and he makes a product, a bunch of different products, but he's basically stopped porch pirates with this product.
Ooh.
It's called the box gobbler. And what it is it goes in the wall, for instance, between, they have a lot of different products like this, but for instance, this one goes in the wall between, like if you've got that attached garage next to your door, you mount it in there in the wall, and you give your delivery person a code, it opens the door up, and you put it in there, it drops the package in your garage, and it's all insulated. It could go in a laundry room or wherever you want to do that through the wall. And so you give your Amazon, UPS, FedEx, whoever's delivering stuff, the code, they come out and do it, and you never have packages on your front porch.
I love that. The box gobbler is also probably the best name of a product.
Yeah, well, they have the other one, which is kind of like a little pirate thing. It's the booty safe, so it goes on your shelf, like it goes on your porch basically. And they've had ones with their flower pots on top or things like that. And again, you could drop those packages in there so people don't steal them. So
Perfect.
it's a great way to keep those packages, all those online orders dialed in for you.
Yep. So that's there's a couple of the segments.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to give away anything else.
Let's see. I'll give one more. We actually, let's see. Which one do I want to do? This one was kind of fun. We talk with a great hand tool manufacturer, Stiletto.
Oh, nice.
They make nice hammers, like titanium hammers and squares and stuff. We take a look at some of their new stuff on there as well.
Very cool. And that's all coming up on this week's episode, which for everybody, when, where, and how can they watch?
All right. So if you missed the one about the earthquake retrofit valve, that airs tomorrow morning, which is last week's episode, 10 a.m. Fox 12 Plus. And of course, the new stuff will be 10 a.m. Saturday, Fox 12 Plus, and 6 o'clock on Sunday.
There you go. So opportunities to go watch it. And of course, you can check it all out too on KPTV.com and Facebook and YouTube. So lots of segments there. Yeah, to watch everything. Well, Eric, thank you. This has been very informative.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
and
guys.
I am definitely looking into those metal fences. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to watching that segment. And thank you everybody for joining us too. This is Fox 12 Now. We appreciate you being here. Of course, throughout the afternoon, if there's breaking news, we cover that as well right here. So what you want to do is whatever platform you're on, make sure that you follow along there. And we'll come in anytime outside of our normal newscasts. So 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., that's when we're here. We'll have that as well. And also lots of other segments and discussions and things that we get to talk about here on the show. So thanks for joining in. I appreciate you being here. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, brother.
We'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.